Hi, Hollywood progressive crowd. Here's the trio back again after seeing a really fine play called Hitler's Tasters, playing put on by the Rogue Machine Theater at the Matrix Theater on Melrose. The basic story is based on a real life event. Toward the end of World War II, a group of German officers headed by a lieutenant colonel attempted to assassinate Hitler with a bomb in Berchtesgaden, his headquarters. They failed, and then Hitler instituted tasters for his food. So the play shows three young women locked in a kind of featureless room who get to taste his food. What do you think, hon?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing what they did with so little. So I pulled out, so you handed me this, the playwright, instead of getting a playbill, they give us this thing. And I just want to read just a little bit that the playwright wrote about what prompted her to write this play. So what happened was she met a 94-year-old woman who had been conscripted to be one of Hitler's tasters. And this playwright just she couldn't imagine that Hitler was actually using German women, young, very young German women, to taste his food to protect him against being poisoned. And she says, I could not get my brain around the idea that Hitler very specifically chose young German women, the future of the Reich, to test his food for poison. Everything that pushes my buttons of concern is encapsulated in the story. The way society treats young women as expendable, the way that children are used as tools of war, the complicated relationships young women have with themselves and each other, not to mention the complicated relationship that women have with food. And I won't read the whole thing. All I will say is that what she wrote there really is an expression of what I felt. And I would add to that, what I felt was how bizarre, how out of touch with reality we can become when our reality is so it's so bad. I can't even think of a word to express this, but when what we're looking at in the face of is so awful that we create this sort of la la land. And that's the story of these three tasters who know. They know that they're tasting food that could possibly have poison in it. And they are told that it is an honor to be chosen as one of Hitler's tasters. The playwright did a wonderful job, and so did all of the actresses. Nia, what was your experience?
Yeah, so I loved how you described it, how you said, the face of reality when you're living in a la la land. And that's exactly what was presented to us. Something I really enjoyed was how naturally these girls sort of told us what their life was like when they were able to leave. Because it seemed like it was like a job. So they would come in the morning or were brought in the morning. They would stay, I assume, all day to test all three meals, and then they were sent home at night. And so they would just drop little hints of, I was walking down the street, but with all the changes and the fallen buildings and the bombs going off, get a little turned around now. Just little bits of just conversational information that told you the absolute dystopia they were living in outside of these walls. And yet they walked in and were expected and maintained cheerful, happy smiles. Nothing was wrong. As Sharon said, it was an honor to serve their Reich. And it sort of speaks to the some of the delusions that we see and are afraid of seeing more of coming into this upcoming election. And it really spoke a lot to our fears, us three personally, and many others' fears of what is a very real possibility coming down the pipeline for us, with the possibility of Trump being reelected and all sorts of just the path that could lead us all down. But this play really, it was actually very sweet. These girls were portrayed as beautifully innocent, just rotating three different
They
young
were virgins.
women.
Well,
They were, yeah.
that's not all of them
Well,
virgins.
just young girls, and the conversation, the dialogue was so wonderful. It was such a dichotomy sort of play. It was presented as very cheerful. We laughed. We were all laughing. There were moments of laughter, and it felt very uplifting. The music was modern music, but when you heard each line and the end of each scene and you kind of let it sink in, it was like the layer of the facade was slowly being taken off, and you could see, oh, there's a rotting core inside of all of this, and they're just kind of, have their blinders on because it's an honor to serve their leader. So I'm curious, Dad, what you thought.
Well, I had the same thing. So much of the time, the three young girls are very young girls, and just like teenage girls, and taking selfies, and doing all kinds of silly stuff and dancing around. And then part of their lives at the mealtime, they eat a meal and they wait an hour to see if they're going to die, which is a little glum. And and they kept telling themselves, and they were told that this was the great honor, that they were specifically chosen for this, to serve the Fuhrer. And at the beginning, they kind of buy this, and then one by one they kind of buy it a little less, and then they kind of wonder, and then it kind of sinks in that, well, maybe they're being fooled.
And then they disappear.
What I was drawing was kind of what you were doing, Nia, with what's going on with Trump's people. I mean, we have these people that are deluded into believing that Trump is going to be retributive for them. And you'd like to hope that someday the blinders will fall from their eyes and they'll see it's not quite so.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it'll be too late by that point. That's the fear.
Well, I have to say that I think the three of us did not draw any, we didn't have a discussion after we saw the play. And so we didn't draw the parallels that all three of us have drawn. Occasionally stop to ask myself, do I see doom, or am I always making comparisons between what happened during Hitler's occupation of Europe and what he did, and am I seeing it on every corner and comparing it to what's happening in our future? But with the two of you, apparently you're seeing it too, and I'm sure we're not the only people. So I think this play was right on time. It does speak to how we want to just ignore what's staring us right in the face, because it's just so awful to even begin to consider that we could be walking into this mess that is quite possibly, we could possibly be walking into.
And leading off of that, something else that I took note of was the sort of, I guess, the group mentality. I guess that's the word that I'm looking for. Because as soon as one person would question, without hesitation, the other two would jump into defensive mode, and they'd, hail Hitler and do the sign and add attention, as if just even slightly mentioning something that could maybe be considered as divisive or against the Reich was this ultimate sin. There was no room for discussion. Like that's what I saw happening in real life. There's no room for discussion with a lot of these Trump supporters. And if you don't believe what they believe, you're wrong, and that's it. Period. End of discussion. There's no conversation. There's no back and forth. It just is what it is. And that's what I saw happening in the play compared to today. And that's what made me go, that's very scary. Very scary. Because then, in the play, this happens, and then one of the girls is gone, and you're wondering, why, how, what happened, who said what to who. Very scary.
So another thread with what's going on in the world today is there's an undercurrent of anti-Semitism. I mean, it's made very clear that all the young women who get to taste Hitler's food must be perfectly Aryan. And the one girl who was blonde and blue-eyed, she was the most perfect sample. And then one girl who was a little darker, she was aghast to be accused of possibly Jewish. And obviously with all the discussion of anti-Semitism and what's going on in the Middle East, that's right at home. I'd also say, so this is the third time we've attended a play in that small upstairs playhouse. We saw Blue, the play about police violence, police shooting, which we were just in love with. We saw it twice, and we saw another one whose name I
We
forget.
saw it 3 times.
And this time, and it's wonderful. I mean, I don't know how they economically put on a play with
I think we should start putting on plays right here in this room.
with an audience of 30 people. And
Cool.
yeah, and it's very cool. And it's very cool how much they could do with 3 chairs, a table, a door, and 3 girls.
Yeah, some music and lights. And,
Yeah.
and it's so captivating.
And it's a space that can provide an intimacy that no other stage can
Right.
provide. There's no any larger and you lose the intimacy. This play, Blue, even the third play that falls a little bit lower on the liking scale for us, but even that play, if it was put on any larger of a stage, none of them would have hit us as hard or as deeply or felt as, you know, close to us personally.
I
So
always
just
think that and it's awesome how they can be so close to you, so physically close to you, and yet it's almost like you're not there at all.
not there, not
They
there.
are in Germany or wherever they are. That's where they are. They're not like 6 inches away from you.
Yep, absolutely. No, I think how many plays have we seen at Rogue Machine? I don't think we've ever come across bad acting or actors who have never committed or have not put their all into these scripts. We have enjoyed even the ones that fall lower on our liking scale. I think we've enjoyed every show that we've seen at Rogue Machine. They put on such a wonderful show. There's so much effort that goes in with the actors, the directors, the lighting, everything. The entire crew there is just provide a wonderful, wonderful product and experience.
I was reminded of our play that we saw that our friend Tanya Verifield played in with the roller derby.
Oh my gosh.
Where it was another very small place, and I kept having to pull in my
Your feet.
feet when they went by. Well, you know, I'd have my feet out today, and then they'd start dancing around, and I'd be, you know, oh, I don't want to trip.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, and it's the acting is remarkable, and you know, it's potentially. I mean, it's Nazism, it's anti-Semitism, it's genocide, it's World War II. You almost couldn't have a grimmer topic, and yet it wasn't. It didn't ignore the grimness, but it kind of leavened it with the joyfulness of these young girls.
And I think that is what makes one of the things that makes this play really important, because there are times when some of these topics are so grim that you just want to turn your head the other way. You really don't want to receive the information, and people need to know. And so it does us a service to make it somewhat palatable, because the truth of the matter is, no matter how awful things are, human beings still find a way to live, to laugh, to love. I mean, during the worst of times, there is still that goes on as well. And so I think that aspect of this play is really important, to be able to tell the story and tell it in a way that doesn't overwhelm people. So.
Well, it goes on for a few more weeks. I would say we highly recommend this. We think this is a good play to go see.
Do we want to say the names of anybody? That is written by Michelle Knolos Brooks.
Right.
And directed by Sarah Norris, produced by Lexi Sloan and Guillermo Cienfuegos. The featured actors are Ali Axelrad, Olivia Gill, Paige Simunovich, and Caitlin Zambito. And it is absolutely worth seeing.
Yeah, and our friend, our colleague Ed Rampell reviewed it, and he pointed out that the playwright, Michelle Knolos Brooks, is Mel Brooks's
Granddaughter.
Nephew, niece or something, a relative, and and he Mel Brooks liked to poke fun at the Nazis too. So beautiful play. I think we have more plays coming up, and we love talking to you about them. So we'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye, Nia.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Nia.
Bye.